ahead and start recording. And I'm going to go ahead and start to share my screen now. All right, well, welcome everyone. This is the first kind of group TA session for the Summer Funding Collaborative for the 2025, which I can't believe 25 already, summer. So we are so happy to have you all joining us this evening. And hopefully we can kind of get those juices flowing, get some ideas going, so that your proposals are, kind of neat and polished by the 15th when, what time did he say it was? 5 o'clock on the 15th to make sure that we're submitting everything on time. Just to introduce myself, my name is Crystal Snyder. I am the Learning Coordinator at the Maryland Out of School Time Network, and I work with Ellie. I have just a little about me. I have over 18 years of summer programming experience. I worked with the military for quite a while before I came over to MOST. I have two daughters who came up in programming, so I've been on the staff side as well as the parent side of programming and everything. And this is my third year assisting with the summer funding grant process. And I just, really enjoy being able to help everyone kind of make the best out of their proposals. And Ellie, do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ellie Mitchell. I'm the director of the Maryland Out of School Time Network. I am a Baltimore native. Went to Berkeley, then went to Western. I've raised two kids here myself, and I have been doing this work forever and a day. I don't know how many years I've been doing Summer Funding Collaborative. Maybe as many years as there's been a Summer Funding Collaborative. And this is one of my favorite things to do all year because, as I said, because it allows me to really connect directly with programs. So I'm happy you are all here.
All right. So just a little bit about MOST, if you are not familiar with who we are. We are the statewide organization that is dedicated to more and better after school and summer learning opportunities for all young people. We are the affiliate for the National After School Association. You can visit our website. We have all kinds of great resources, information on there. We have some curriculum for college and career readiness, so all kinds of great stuff. And you can also sign up for our biweekly newsletter that is just chock full of all kinds of information, great opportunities, grant and funding opportunities, all kinds of good stuff that comes out in our newsletter. So just to introduce ourselves, I know we kind of all dropped names and organizations in the chat, but if you want to also just let us know, how many years have you been running summer programming? Is this your first year? Is this your 18th year? Just kind of give us a quick overview of about how long you've been doing summer work.
I don't know. Can we talk or?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Come on off.
Yeah, I've probably been doing this programming for about the last 5 years.
Fantastic.
We got anybody who's a first-time summer program provider this year?
Hi. We have been running our summer program for the last 3 years.
Fantastic. All right, we've got some 17 years from Molly at Wide Angle. Alana is about 3 years, 2 years for Shania. Fantastic. So we've kind of got the spectrum. We've got some veterans in there. Sarah's at 20 years. The veteran just hanging in there. That's great. So, we've got everybody kind of across the spectrum and everything. And, I hope that tonight's session will just kind of help you think about your summer programming and how to kind of best market yourself, market your program, and, help get you through this competitive process. All right, so first thing we want to do is a little proposal therapy. So you can, again, come off mute. You can drop it in the chat box, whichever you're more comfortable with, but let us know what part of the proposal stresses you out the most. What is that thing that's kind of just, maybe you've set it to the side because you just don't want to think about it yet, or is keeping you up at night? And if it's nothing, that's fantastic too.
Yeah, I think for me, I think when I look at it, I think one of the problems that I would always have is if they don't have a link for you to put your data, and they don't ask for your data, but they do ask for a narrative, it's like you don't really have a space to put it. So when you don't put your data, it's like, well, I did put a narrative, but they like, oh no, you didn't explain, like you didn't give me any metrics. It's like you didn't give me a link to put metrics. So but then they only give you like 2,500 words or 1,000 words to. So I'm like, all right, so now I gotta figure out a way to put metrics and a narrative in one thing with us, so anyway, that's one of the things.
Yeah, yeah. It looks
Harold,
like
you're
not
being
alone.
echoed in the chat. The word counts and small spaces and character counts is a common theme. And Gloria also highlighted the budget. It is a different sort of budget format than a lot of the grants that you write. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. We'll definitely talk about some strategies for how to sneak information in to different sections of the proposal so that you can get more detail. And so we'll talk through that tonight as well.
Yeah, and just talking about how to make like every word that you're putting in there count, since it's, so the, word count is so small and everything, how to really just sell it in that elevator pitch, that, first floor to the fourth floor, how are you getting everything, in there and everything. All right. Connecting with the community reviewers. That's I think a challenge as well, just kind of knowing like what are the community reviewers looking for, especially the because of the variety of programs and everything, the rubric kind of has to stay sort of wide, can't be super duper specific. So it's kind of hard to know exactly what those community reviewers are looking for. Yeah. So hopefully, by the end of tonight, you'll feel a little bit better, about the whole process, and we'll, address some of your concerns. There will be time at the end for questions, but if you have a question during, feel free to raise your hand or pop it in the chat, or come off mute and just let us go. We want this to be an interactive sort of meeting tonight and everything, so that we can make sure that we get everybody's questions answered. All right, so what is going to make your proposal stand out? We want to make sure that you are writing from your heart. So tonight we're just going to talk about the challenges, like what, how competitive is the SFC this summer. We'll give you 6 strategies that hopefully will help you get through the writing process. We'll give you a little bit more information about the individual TA opportunities that are there for you. And then we will we'll have a chance to answer some questions. Okay. So problem number 1, like we've said, this is really competitive. Some of the statistics that they gave during the orientations last week, or during the information sessions last week, and it's also in the actual whole grant proposal. In last summer, the SFC received 160 applications for funding for a total of asking for $12 million. Of those 160, only 73 were funded. And then of that, 64 were fully funded for $4.2 million. So there was a much bigger ask that was out there, than what the funding was, what the collaborative had for to be able to give out to programs. I mean, in a perfect world, we would have enough money everywhere to completely fund everyone's summer programs, but unfortunately, there's not unlimited funds out there, and it is a competitive process. So last summer the average was about 26,000. This summer they're saying that there's only about 3 million that's available. So it's going to be a little bit more competitive this summer than it was even last summer. Yeah, so it's a tough process, but we'll hopefully help you get you through it. So yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I was gonna take this slide, even though I
Yeah, go
told you
ahead.
I was.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the things that I always tell people is that even if you do not get funded when you apply for this grant, there is a benefit to applying. So one is that you are writing your first grant for your summer program in November, and you can shop that around. With fewer funders actually in the funding collaborative this year, that means that there's funders outside of the funding collaborative who you could bring your proposal to. And if you want to learn more about strategies for finding those funders, I'm happy to be a resource for you on that. The Maryland Philanthropy Network just recently redid their directory of all the foundations that do giving. It's now online. It does have a fee to access it, but sometimes you have to spend money to make money. And so something I do recommend that you think about this as your sort of first shot at your summer funding. The second thing is that if you have not actually been introduced to some of these funders before, it will put their name in front of their face. And even if your program doesn't get funded, it doesn't mean necessarily that they thought it wasn't a great program. It means that it didn't fit into a certain bucket of priority. It means that there were maybe two programs that were similar, that were in different geographic areas, and there was a greater need in that geographic area. There's lots of reasons, lots of considerations and weights to why programs don't get funded. And so you may find that the funders are actually seeing your proposal, seeing that an impressive program, even if it doesn't end up in the yes pile. And then every grant is a learning opportunity for sure. But I think mostly this is it gives you exposure and it gives you a template for your summer program to take to other funders. Those are the two most important things, I think, to think about, so that this work does not have to necessarily go in vain in case at the other end you don't come out with a summer funding collaborative grant. There may be other places you can shop it to.
Fantastic. So just how do I make my program stand out? How do I make sure that I am catching the eye of funders? You want to make sure that your application is unique. So almost all the programs are saying that you're a great program because we provide food, we provide enrichment, academics, STEM, health and wellness, kind of all those buzzwords that are in there, and everything, helping the community, those kinds of things. So you want to use that language that's going to make your program stand out a little bit more. So when they're just seeing, we're a great program, we have all, we do STEM, we do academic enrichment without a lot of details, reviewers think, okay, it's just like the last one that came through. So we want to make sure that your proposal has jazz hands, that it stands out, that it sparkles and shines when they read it. Okay, so 6 strategies for making sure that helping to make sure that your proposal stands out. We want to make sure that you are going to use your time wisely, and we'll get into each one of these a little bit more. But using your time wisely, telling your story and what makes you unique. You want to make sure to involve the people that you serve, parents, youth, all those kinds of things in in the grant process. You want to define what success means to you, make sure that your budget matches and it makes sense, and you want to follow the directions to the letter. So you really want to make sure that you're answering the question that's asked. If they provide a rubric piece for a specific question, make sure that you're reading that piece of the rubric. I like how in in the grant proposal, the way it's written, where the questions are and stuff like that, if it has a rubric piece that's associated with it, they put it right there next to the question, just so that you can kind of look at it a little bit more and kind of know what's going on, you know, what they're really looking for with that question. So just make sure that you're following every direction that's in there, you're getting it in on time, you're answering all the questions that need to be answered. All right, so strategy number 1 is using your time wisely. So you want to make sure that you're making a back map, that you kind of have a plan for how you are going to make sure to get everything done on time. Make a folder and start collecting all of your information. Collect attachments if you need to get letters from fiscal sponsors or anything like that. Start collecting all that now, and keep it all in one, you know, an SFC folder right there on your desktop, so that you know where everything is, so that when it's time to upload everything into the portal, you're just going in there and you're just grabbing those documents. Start writing all the answers to your questions on a Word document, a Google Doc, something like that, so that you have it there. You can check word counts before you are ready to submit and stuff like that, but keep it all right there so that you just open that 2024, 2025 folder and all your information is right there. And then it also helps for you to keep a copy of your work. So then you've got everything. So if something goes wrong, you know, when you're in the portal and everything, you've got copies of whatever you need instead of typing answers directly into the portal, and then something goes wrong and you've got to, oh wait, what was I saying? You know, what was that flow that I had? Write what you can while you solve the rest. Kind of get that low-hanging fruit first. Answer those easy questions that you can just, you know, snap out right away and everything, while you are looking to find your full budget, or you're really fine-tuning that program narrative and stuff like that. Kind of get the easy stuff done and, you know, and over with ahead of time. And then work on the harder stuff. And make sure that you leave time for fresh eyes. Have someone else read your proposal. You know, students in your program are fantastic to read, especially if they are in that same age as those community reviewers, ages 14 to 24. If you have youth in your program, have them read through it, and they can really tell you, like, yeah, we do this in the program, or hey, you know, what about this that we do, and what about that we do? They can really kind of help you brainstorm. They can even maybe sit down and talk to them about, you know, what is the good thing about program. Have them help you with that youth voice section, you know, all those kinds of things. But definitely have someone look over. And again, the individual one-on-one TA sessions that we will give you information on towards the end. They are great for TA providers to just kind of be that outside set of eyes. We have nothing to do, the TA providers, we don't have anything to do with the community review or the funders or anything like that. We're just sort of an outside set of eyes looking through it, making sure that your proposal stands out. Any questions so far? All right, we'll keep going. So your back map. We are in the week in that kind of that section of October 15th through November 8th. So you should already start organizing your attachments, kind of make sure that you've read through the whole application, you know what you're looking for. This is the time to start. You are here at one of the group TA sessions, scheduling those one-on-one TA sessions, getting your stakeholder input, start talking to people, and everything. Then that week of November the 4th, which is that week before it's due, really get someone next week to start, think about maybe the end of the week next week. Having someone read through your proposal, so that the week of the 15th, you are just polishing it up and making sure that you have all of your pieces. And they stressed quite a few times about making sure to submit early. So don't wait until 4:55 on the 15th to start uploading all of your things. Kind of get it in early. That way, if there's a glitch that happens or something like that, you're not in that panic that, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss the deadline and everything. All right, so the second strategy is really kind of the meat of and the heart of what the community reviewers are really going to be looking at, is that sort of how to tell your story and be unique, be specific, but stay within those word counts, which is not always easy. So I highlighted some of the questions that we're going to kind of go through as we're talking this evening. If you have pen and paper, now would be a good time to maybe, as we're talking, we'll do a little bit of brainstorming, maybe a little bit of sharing if anyone's comfortable sharing some of their ideas or something like that. But now would be a great time to maybe just start jotting down a few ideas, especially if you haven't, or if you've got your proposal in front of you, and you want to make like little side notes or something like that. So number 18 says, to provide a high-level overview of your program. And you've only got 1,500 characters to do this. So this is where you want to, just kind of give that general, like, this is what we do. This is what, how our structure is. This is what the youth are going to experience when they're there, in sort of that kind of overview section. There are more questions where you can really get into the meat and potatoes of and get those specifics down of exactly what you are doing in your program.
Crystal, can I just interject here? And just one new strategy that has not always been available but is available now to you is the use of AI. I do not recommend AI to generate your proposal because only you know your program and the bot does not. What the bots can do really well, though, is take what you've written and cut it down to size. So you can put in a more expanded paragraph and ask AI to give you a version that is 1,500 characters. And you still have to make the decision about what's good about that, if they took out the wrong things or they kept the right things in. But often it's a really, you will be surprised if you have not already used a ChatGPT or some other kinds of things, how good some of these edits can be on your writing. And so the other thing is that, so I personally am a big fan of Grammarly. I use Grammarly all the time, partially because apparently as a almost 50-year-old woman, I've stopped learning how to type. I don't know what's going on. So it catches all my little thumb fumbles, and it tightens up my commas and all those good things, and really cleans up the work. You can also ask it to have a certain kind of tone. You can ask it to, so there's just lots of things that you can do. And like I said, I'm not saying start from scratch. And sometimes, I mean, people do this. They put the bullets in and then they let the AI write it. I'm not such a big fan of that. I still think you need your voice, your tone, your words. But you can use it to tighten it up in a big way. So I recommend this now. It's not, I don't think AI is as great as it could be yet for generating, but for editing, it's very helpful.
Yeah. Use all the resources that you have at your disposal. And then we'll go a little bit more into detail on 18A. This one is a big change from last year. Last year, they gave you, I believe, 1,000 characters to describe an average day in your program. This year they're giving you sort of a template, and I've kind of played around with the template a little bit, just to kind of give some tips and tricks. So that's on a later slide, so we'll get a little bit further into that. But that is a change. So instead of a narrative, it kind of gives that quicker snapshot. So I can see it being useful for viewers, but you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of that template that you possibly can, or something similar. It says you can use your own also. And then question number 19 that talks about briefly describe up to 3 ways that you think participants will be better off as a result of participating in your program. We're going to go into each one of these a little bit more, but this one is kind of broken down. You, instead of 1,000 characters that they gave you last year for the 3 ways, they're giving you 300 for each way. So this is really that kind of how are the youth getting from this program? How is this going to help improve their lives? So this is, again, another great way. 300 characters isn't a whole lot, but you can really pack in a lot of really good information in those 3 narratives.
And Harold, that's one of those places where you can stick in some data, even if it's a 1 sentence. Prior participants in our program have improved X, Y, and Z, whatever your data point is, adding that in succinctly to sort of be the evidence for how that is going to be the impact of your program.
Yeah, that's a fantastic place.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And that's usually about 3 different, they ask you for 3 different ones, 3 different
Yeah.
examples?
Yeah, so they ask you for, it says up to 3, but then there's like a bullet point A, bullet point B, and bullet point C. So I guess when you get into the portal, there's probably 3 places that you can use up to 300 characters
Okay.
in that question and everything. So yeah,
Okay, that's good.
yeah,
thank
fine. Throw those data points in there, especially like, if kids have improved things,
Yes, because if we got 3 different things, if we got 5 different things we do in the program, it just gives me an opportunity to put some data in about each one of those different programs.
yeah.
So yeah, I got you.
Yeah, yep, that's a great place to put data. And then number 28 kind of expands on that and still continues to kind of expand on that high level. So 18, you're kind of given your overview. 28, you can really get into like what are you exposing the students to that they aren't getting in their regular life. So what are you? What new unique thing, maybe you are providing mechanic skills or something like that they haven't had a chance to do. So something unique and different that they are going to get from your program that they wouldn't get if they didn't attend your program. And again, that one's, I didn't write the word count on that one, but I believe that one's 1,000 characters. So taking those kind of some of the things that you talked about a little bit in 18, and that's your opportunity really to expand it out and give more details in that number 28. So 18 again is your elevator pitch. This is, from the first floor to the 5th floor, you've got, a minute, 2 minutes to get up there. How are you going to be able to tell someone about your program quickly and succinctly that's going to be that hook, that's going to pull them in, that's going to make them want to read, more of the proposal to find out more information. You want to think about what is most important for the reviewer, whether it's the funder or the community reviewer, to understand about your program. What is that hook? What is the great thing about your program? When you're trying to write succinctly, the rule of 3 always is a good thing. It's that kind of good rhythm to fall into. So if you can come up with kind of 3 main things that are, unique or special or, important about your program. So, that rule of 3 makes things more interesting, more enjoyable, more memorable. Yeah, so want to make sure that you're just kind of giving that quick overview. And when you were talking about your program, instead of just saying we do STEM activities, because that is a lot, and there are a lot of programs out there that do STEM activities. Like really start to talk about, we are teaching robotics, we are teaching epidemiology. Students will be doing environmental projects, cleaning up streams. So really kind of go into specifics, use those specific words, even in your overview and everything, instead of just saying, it's a week of STEM activities. You really want to use that more specific language, so that it can really, because maybe DNA sequencing is something that you're doing, and that's really unique, and no other program is doing that. So you want to grab those things that are going to be the thing that's going to make your program stand out, and they really get that understanding of what you are doing in your program for the summer. Any questions of what we've talked about right now?
And STEM is just the example here. That would be the
Yeah.
same with literacy, with mathematics. If you have specific curriculum that you're using, name it. If you have developed your own curriculum, say that. Anything that is unique to you, that is the key here. Whether so the category literacy, arts, STEM, math, whatever, does not matter as much as the activity. So what is it that you are going to do? That's the flavor and feel of your program. Because the categories are the same for everybody. Everybody's doing the same categories. I do workforce. Well, what does workforce mean? I do, we improve reading. The what is the most important part about this.
Yeah, the specifics of how you're doing that, how it's going to make your program stick out. Okay, so when you were talking about your unique story, don't forget the W's, in your narrative. So what will the experience be? If they're doing hands-on activities, don't just write hands-on activities. They are going to be doing, lab experiments, or they are going to be planting seedlings and growing, their own vegetables for the summer. Whatever the program is, be really specific what hands-on, really is. Use those action words of what they are actually doing. Talk about where it takes place. Is it going to be in a science lab? Is it going to be in a field? Especially if you have a unique, if you have field trips set up that, yes, you're doing in a community center most days, but you have a partnership with the Children's Museum or something like that, and you're going to go downtown and, experience, hands-on DNA mapping at the Baltimore Children's Museum. Put that in there so that the reviewers can see the unique qualities of your program, and really get a feel for what students are going to be learning. We want to talk about how students are going to gain new skills. What are the skills that they're going to be learning? What are they going to walk away with at the end of the summer that they didn't have before they walked into your program at the beginning of the summer? Think about why does this program help your goals? So I believe question number 14 asks you kind of which category of does your program fall into. So it's got career readiness, it's got STEM in there, and all different things. So how does the activities that you're doing and the things that you're doing in your program, how does that relate to reaching your goals? Mary, you have a question.
Well, and if I'm wrong, just let me know. But this particular question only allows us to check one box. Is that correct?
Yes. So in 14, but in the narrative that you're having on number 18, you want to relate it back to that question number 14. So make sure
Right.
that you mention how. I'm sorry?
What if there's an overlap? So we do fashion, for instance. You need fabrics, and we teach them how to sew. Okay, I'm just keeping it. keep it nice and short. I ain't trying
Sure.
to write my whole program, but it's also teaching entrepreneurship and how to not just get a job and career readiness. It's about entrepreneurship. And I just think, I think some of your questions and your opportunities for us to express what we were really doing. I hope you all start helping. Excuse me. I hope that you all start evolving and understanding that we just more than just one checkbox. That's all.
Well, Mary, we've been advocating for changes to this RFP. So just number one, we do not write this RFP, not us. And we have been advocating back to the Summer Funding Collaborative for better character counts, more flexibility, all of that stuff for years. I don't know what it will take, but our job is to help you sliver your unique programs into this shove this little round peg into the square hole, the square peg into the round hole. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think that they want to see what your main goal is with number 14. So obviously college and career readiness kind of is everything. Everybody wants to be college and career ready, and you do STEM to be college and career ready. So those overlap. I think they're just trying to have you focus in on, like, if you were to describe your program in one sentence, what is its goal? And then we're going to try to get those nuances of your entrepreneurship and all those kinds of things in some of these other questions. I agree. I'm in total agreement with you. And you will see if you saw we do little reports back and we make recommendations, and every year in the recommendations, we say there's not enough space for programs to really differentiate who they are in the word counts. And I guess, I don't know. Don't know, but I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah, and I would say, pick the main in that number 14. If you only get to pick one, pick that main thing. But then pull when you're writing your narrative. You're doing the sewing skills, but it's college and career readiness. It's entrepreneurship. Pull all those other kind of extra categories and use those in your narrative. When you're kind of explaining what all your thing does, pull all those other things that you didn't get a chance to check off in number 14 in there. Yeah, that was a great question. Thank you. And then talk about who is providing the instruction and what their expertise is. If you are partnering with someone in the community that is an expert, if you are doing a gardening box program and you're using 4-H master gardeners, put that in there. If you are going on field trips and you are using experts at whatever your field trip is that you're going to and everything, put that in there. So, and that's 29A and B that talks about your staffing and the people that are working it, with the youth and everything. Really talk up the expertise that people have in your programs. If you are going to Johns Hopkins University and working with the scientists in their labs or something like that, like put that in there. Really get as much in there that shows that you're getting that high level expertise in your programs. Any other questions before we kind of move on from the unique story? And like I said, we'll have question and answer time at the end if you think of something. Okay, so this is where I wanted to get in a little bit more to that question number 18 that went from a narrative last year where you got to actually talk about your story to the template. So this is the template. Okay, it didn't pop up. Hold on one second. Let me stop sharing this screen for a second, and I will pull up the template that they have. I thought I had it set up to be able to just share it with you, but give me 1 second. Sorry about that. share my screen again. Okay, so this is the template that they kind of, if you click on that link in question 18A, it kind of gives you this short chart. They kind of just gives that quick kind of snapshot, but it doesn't really give you a whole lot of space to really tell what students are going to experience in a day, in a week, in your program and everything. So what I did was I kind of, because they said that you can use your own chart. So if you want to, use your own chart, but I kind of took it and expanded it a little bit more. That gives you a little bit more information as to really what children are going to experience in your program. So instead of just having like check-in and reflections and everything, I just listed some activities that you might be doing in that check-in reflection time. So you're doing team builders, you are the writing and reflection journals, you're doing a temperature check of how students are feeling that day when they come into the program. You're doing red light, yellow light, green light, with the things that maybe you talked about yesterday or something like that. So just kind of listing some activities that you are planning on doing within that kind of broader category and making it seem more specific of what you are actually going to be doing in that, because check-in reflection could be anything. It doesn't sound unique, it doesn't sound interesting, it's not eye-catching, but if you're actually putting in names of activities, so then in that college and career readiness, instead of just writing interviewing skills one day and resume writing and and I think there was another block for resume writing and everything, like put that overview of college career readiness, and we're doing personal identity and future successes, and then we're doing peer interviews and things like that, just really putting in some more detail that just kind of really shows the community reviewers what is going on. Oh, and I took Saturday and Sunday out of there. So if there are days that your program isn't running, you could even take those out, make your blocks bigger to add in, a little bit more information. You don't want to write paragraphs in there. You want to kind of keep it at bullet points, but you want to give as much information as possible. If you're running special events on Friday. Yeah.
You can also sneak partners in here. You could highlight a partner on that calendar.
Yeah.
I say get as creative as you want with this, within the framework of this template, since, it's just another way for you to share the snapshot of your program. Sorry, I have a noisy dog. Yeah, I'd say like take this template and not go crazy with it, but really use it to your best advantage.
Yeah, and it's fully editable, so you can take things out and everything. Like I said, I took out the Friday and Saturday. They said you can take out the timing if you don't really know what your time blocks are going to be, or you could just put like block 1, block 2, activity block 1, activity block 2, kind of thing. But just really, highlight things because your activities are going to be changing day to day. You're not going to do the same activity every single Wednesday, or something like that. Or you might have something recurring, like I left where it had group therapy on that Monday. I just put, every Monday from 1 to 2 is a group therapy session, just to kind of show if something's recurring, but be specific, like what is individual work? What does that look like? What are the students doing? Instead of just writing, that sometimes they might be going on a college visit and everything. So, are you doing special events on Friday afternoons where they might be going to college visits? You might be having guest speakers come in. You might be taking them to the pool for, a swim on one Friday afternoon or something like that. They might be doing a showcase of what they worked on all week, for parents when they come at pickup time or something like that. So just put in, and get creative, highlight, do colors, anything that's really gonna just kind of make that sparkle and shine and stand out.
Hey, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
I see how you got this drawn out.
Mhm.
Is there a limit to how many days they expect you to do, and is there a maximum to how many days they expect you to do?
So they It just is supposed to be sort of a overview. The question says a day, what students are going to be doing in a day. But the template that and I'll go back, I'll switch back. This is the actual template that they said, like if it's like, it says click here, this is the actual template that comes up. So they gave you a week. I probably wouldn't do like a whole month calendar. But if you can give just, an average week, if you're kind of doing the same repeating category of activities, each day or something like that, and then adding in just some examples of specific activities. But
Just say it should be reflective of your actual program hours. So if you're a Monday through Friday, then yeah, just show Monday through Friday. If you do Saturdays, maybe you do some Saturdays or whatever, keep the Saturday and show what that looks like. But yeah, and it says you don't have to have actual time frames. So like Crystal said, you could change that to block 1, block 2, block 3, whatever. So I would just say have it be as reflective as your actual program hours during a week as possible.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
So Sarah, there's a template in the proposal document. It says click here on question 18A. We are sending out information after this webinar that has our slides and stuff like that. So I can also attach the one that I edited if you want to see that as an example as well. But you can edit it however you want to do, whatever fits to work, with your program. You can edit that on your own as well.
So if we choose not to use the one they give us, can we upload the one that you give us or no?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and the one that I did is basically just the same thing. Or if you've got your own calendar, or kind of template that you would rather use, it says that you can use your own template also.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree with Crystal though, that I would stick with the week example rather than try to shove your whole month calendar
Yeah.
in there.
Right.
All right. Yeah. So this one was a big change. Excuse me, from last year's. So I just wanted to make sure to highlight and just kind of show you how you can change those nuances and get it from just sort of very vague information, to something a little bit more that has a little bit more oomph to it, a little bit more, makes your program look unique. All right, let me go back to the slides. All right. If you were on the information session on Friday, there were a lot of questions about questions number 31 and 32 talking about safety. So we wanted to just take a couple of minutes right now tonight to just kind of, the rubric is again very general because of there's so many different structures of programs that are in here. To put in specific things, but I know some people had some questions about like how do you answer the safety questions. So we kind of consulted with the leaders from the SFC and then our little TA group. We kind of chatted together and brainstormed some ideas of things that just to think about and to consider when you are putting in, when you're answering question 31 about physical safety and 32 about the mental safety and well-being of your participants. So when you're thinking about that physical safety, think about all those things that, making sure that health, safety, those kinds of things. So think about, that your program has policies and staff are trained on, what to do in case of a fire, if there's an unauthorized person that accesses your program, if you have to go on lockdown for some reason, if there's a power outage, make sure that you have policies, you have policies that are written about that, and that your staff are trained on it. Mention those kinds of things in your narrative. You don't have to go into details of what the policies are, but just that you have these policies, your staff are trained on it. You review the policies with the youth, especially like evacuation procedures. You have evacuation maps posted in in your activity spaces and things like that, so that everybody knows what to do in case of like an evacuation emergency or something like that. I know the rubric mentions about having a nurse on staff, which really isn't feasible for a lot of programs, to hire and pay for a nurse, but getting your staff trained in CPR and first aid. That is definitely feasible, to be able to do, and making sure that at least one person on staff at all times is first aid and CPR certified. That definitely shows, that you are thinking about the children's safety and well-being. Put that you have a transportation plan, how you're getting the youth to and from the program. What it looks like if you are, if you have vehicles and you're going to pick them up, and those kinds of things that, all students have to be seat belted, those kinds of things, just to make sure that you are really putting out those safety things, that you have sign in and sign out procedures to make sure that, especially with our elementary school age students, that the right people are picking up children in the afternoon. You're not letting someone that's not supposed to have a child take the child. Mary, you have a question.
Yes, I kind of feel a little a certain kind of way about that particular question, because I work with Youth Works in my program, and they 14 and up, and these kids are taking buses and such to and from school even before the summertime. So, all programs don't have a need to have a transportation strategy in a way, and I think that. And I've read in the past, I've been, I critiqued a couple of years ago, and some of the people in that group that was with me, I think like, we have to answer every question. Like, I can't just say, it looks like I haven't really put effort in it. If I say, hey, the children, Youth Works provide them with charm cards, and they get back and forth to, the program independently or with the parents, it looks like I'm not putting the effort out. At least I kind of feel that way. What's your
With
take
something
on
like that, thinking about student safety, I would maybe, if you have a policy or a plan in place, that if Joe was supposed to, come in to the program today, and Joe, independently with his bus pass and everything, if he doesn't come by a certain time, that you are maybe, calling him or calling a parent or something like that, just to check in and see where they are, which, through Youth Works, they're getting their transportation, so that's not really something that is, a part of your program, and everything. But you're making sure that all the youth that are supposed to be there that day are, actually arriving, and that they are accounted for. And if not, then you're checking up on them. Might be kind of a way to add that extra safety feature in on that. Does that make sense? Oh, I see your thumbs up. Okay, thank you, Mary. Yeah, so that's, kind of think about those extra things that you do. Yes, students are coming in on their own, or parents are dropping off, those kinds of things, but you're checking up like, hey, we haven't seen so-and-so in a couple of days, or, they were supposed to be here at 9 and it's 10:30 and we haven't seen them yet. We're trying to figure out where they are. So, yep, great question. Thank you. You want to talk about security at your entrances. Do you lock the doors after, a certain time, or do you keep them locked at all times and there's a doorbell? Or do you have like a front desk right by the entranceway, so that there's someone always monitoring and checking who's coming in and out of your program? That's another way to ensure like that physical safety of your youth. Make sure that, you say that there are fire extinguishers and first aid kits available in the program, and that staff are trained how to use both. Even if they're not first aid certified, they still need to be trained that they know where the first aid kits are, and they, are checking to make sure that they are stocked. every Friday or, something like that. Yeah. And then making sure, putting a section in there about that staff are background checked and are, trained on being mandated reporters, that they know that they are mandated reporters. Again, that just kind of helps with that physical safety. That one kind of also goes over into the mental safety and well-being. Yeah, checking for food allergies. Yeah, if you've got a plan for that, especially if you're providing food for the students, for the youth in your program and everything, food allergies. Thank you, Mary, for reminding us of that. Yeah, very important. So any of those kinds of things that you are doing to make sure that youth in your programs, are safe, you want to try and hit in there. You don't have to be specific about, what it is, but that you just have a policy and a plan in place for these particular things. And again, in the mental, excuse me, the mental safety and overall well-being, you want to think about, do you have staff that are trained in mental health first aid or have ACEs training? Are your staff being trained in positive youth development, so that they are, speaking appropriately to the children and things like that? Do staff know where resources and referrals are in the community? If you don't have social workers that are partnering with or are part of your program, is there a way that your staff in your program know where to send a family if they notice that a child is struggling with some mental health issues or things like that? Yeah, cultural competence and inclusivity. We want to, that you have a policy that no staff are left alone with children. Again, that kind of makes sure to help prevent any kind of, child abuse issues or anything like that. That they're trained, that your staff are trained on trauma-informed care and restorative practices. That you have policies about staff and youth interaction beyond the program day, that maybe staff are not allowed to contact children via personal cell phones or anything like that outside of the program. That you have training on building community and bullying prevention inside of your program, and again, child abuse prevention training. So all just kinds of things that are going to, what are you doing to help make sure that the students are feeling emotionally safe in your program, that they feel a part of your community, that they, want to come into your doors every single day. Any other questions about the safety feature? It was really a hot topic, in the information session. So we wanted to just make sure to kind of throw out some bullet points, some things to think about. What are you doing in your program for this? All right, fantastic. So we'll move on to the next. Strategy 3, we want to talk about youth and family voice. So you want to make sure that you are including your youth and your family in this process, whether you are asking them to help tell you about the program. Maybe you're including some of your youth in your brainstorming session. Like, what would you say about this program if you had to describe what you do on a daily basis to someone? And just hearing some things that are in their words, that they like to do. Have your youth read your proposal if they are, obviously old enough, or have a family member if you are working with younger elementary school students that wouldn't be able to read. But if you have those, again, those students that are the 14 to 24 in your program, have them read through it and, give their feedback. Have a parent of a younger student, or even parents of older students. They're all your stakeholders. Really get their input. And then question number 30 talks about describe how your program incorporates youth voice into its design and implementation. Harold, this is another place where you can maybe put some of your data that, students didn't, really enjoyed, this particular part of the program, or didn't enjoy this particular part of the program. We surveyed them at the end of the program last summer, so we made this change. that's a good way to kind of do the youth voice. If students get to help plan at the beginning of, if you've got like a 6-week session or something like that, and students are helping to plan some activities at the beginning of the session that they get to do at the end, they get to choose field trips. Anything that really shows that you are taking the feedback from students and that you are making, actual changes to the program based on what youth are telling you. Again, youth will ask them, how do we include you in the planning process for this particular activity? And they'll let you know whether they feel like they are included or not. And that could even be a way to get youth voice in, because if they're saying, well, we don't feel like we're really a part of the process, you can then, on the spot, start changing some of your processes to make sure that they feel like they are having an authentic voice in your program. Mary, question.
Not so much as a question, but where could I insert? Is this the place to insert? Like last year, I did a monkey survey at the end, several questions, but one question was, would you recommend my program, or our program, I should say, to one of your friends for next summer? And I had like 100% that said yes, but how do I upload that documentation from the survey? There's no place for us to do these things. Not that nobody would believe that I would just make that up, but I was always looking at some supportive documents. I had some kids and some parents write testimonials, but there's no way for us to put this in here, right? Am I missing out something?
You could maybe take a quote or two from a testimonial or something like that. You can say, we survey youth at the end of the program. Youth tended to like this aspect, or we got feedback that maybe they didn't like this aspect. 100% of the students surveyed, or the youth surveyed, said that they would recommend this program to a friend. That's definitely taking in that youth voice, where you are actually surveying them and you're using that survey, especially if there was something that you made a change because of a response that was given on a survey or something like that, throwing that in there, especially if it was a youth response that the youth said that they would prefer whatever, orange juice instead of apple juice for breakfast, or something like that, and you made that change. This is where you want to put that information in. But yeah, putting that you did a survey and 100% of the youth said that they would recommend this to a friend, I think that would definitely be a youth voice. Yeah. Harold, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna add on to what she was saying. I was gonna tell her the only reason why this is near and dear to me is because this is why I didn't get the youth fund grant, because I didn't have that part in there. Everything else was great. So, but and when I redid everything, I had to end up saying something like, our students, 34% of our students did well, and 15% of our students said that they didn't do this at the beginning of our program and our pre-survey. But based on our post-survey, 50% of our kids did it, and then 14% of our kids did this. So you got to kind of put it like that, but still leave a couple sentences for you to get whatever you're trying to explain out also in that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and just how the youth are involved in any planning aspect or any kind of feedback aspect. How they have, do you have a youth council that's in here? Are you running it like a club and you have youth leadership? If you have youth that, older youth that are helping younger youth with things, those are all, really good ways to show that youth voice, how they are having an impact and a say in their program. Yeah. And, and you can even put that, you were asking youth questions, writing the I would even say, writing the proposal or something like that. You were talking to the youth about it, because that shows that they're taking ownership of their program and that they have a voice in the program. All right. Any other questions about youth voice? Some great comments. Thank you all. All right. Strategy number 4, you want to define success, on your own terms. So relate. So this kind of goes with question number 19 about describing 3 ways that you think your participants are better off as a result of your program. So really, this is your place to kind of shine and talk about what success means to you and to the participants in your program. Not overall success, but what are they getting out of this program? What will make it successful at the end of whatever your session is, whether it's a week, whether it's the month of July, whether it's all 10 weeks that they're out of school for the summer and everything. Really sell that success. What are your goals and what are your outcomes? This might be a really great place, Harold, for that. At the beginning of the survey, only 10% had ever tried whatever the thing that you were doing with them, DNA testing or something like that, and didn't consider having a career in STEM. At the end of the program, now 60% said that they are considering having a career in STEM. Those are some really good things because they're getting that good stuff out of it. That's some other places that you can throw in some of that data in there that you're getting from pre and post surveys and stuff like that. So just think about, what your metrics are, how you are measuring what success looked, how that students are better off after having attended your program than they were before. I really like the pre and post surveys. That gives you really good data. And even if you just do an end of the term survey instead of a pre and post, you can still get good data. Had before attending this program, had you ever considered a career in STEM or something like that? You can put that data in here, and that after attending our DNA camp, now more students are interested in STEM careers and stuff like that. All right, just want to be mindful of our time. We've got about 20 more minutes. So number 28 talks about exposure to diverse experiences. So you want to describe how your program exposes participants to opportunities that build and expand on their day-to-day. So what are you giving them that's unique, that they're not going to get hanging out at home or whatever? Again, this is where you can take some of those generalized statements that you could only fit in number 18 and really just expanding it out and really giving some specific experiences that are unique to your program. That they are working with scientists, that they are getting to go boating on in the harbor, and maybe put up sails on a sailboat or something like that, that they've never been able to do. So those unique experiences, they are learning how to plant vegetables that they've never thought about planting vegetables before, that vegetables only come from the grocery store, they don't actually grow in the ground or something like that. Just really expand on those unique things. You've got 900 characters to really kind of take some of those general statements that you had in 18 and really put specifics in there. This is where that list of STEM activities that we had up there, where you're really gonna put in those specific words and programs and activities that you're doing with youth. Any questions about question number 28? And this could be, again, Harold, another spot to throw some data in there. Students are getting unique experiences and things like that. Yeah. So you've got to kind of find those pieces that you want to put in there and throw them in, the areas where you can really expand, more of your information and stuff like that. Unfortunately, you can't upload a survey or however you collect your data and stuff like that. So you got to kind of break it down and throw those pieces in as you are writing your story. But remember not to be repetitive. Don't keep telling them the same statistic over and over and over again in questions. Make sure that each question you're expanding on 18 and grabbing another piece of it, but giving a unique answer to each of those questions. All right, Ellie, would you like to work on the budget since you tend to be the budget expert?
Yeah, so the budget is, in this case, it's kind of unique the way they ask you to do it. So instead of doing a spreadsheet as you would probably normally do in most grants, you're actually entering your data by line item. And this is where I'm going to stress and tell you, this is not our job. This will be the job of the Summer Funding Collaborative. If you're not sure what category an expense falls in, I would send that question to get answered by the summer people, because only they know exactly if it's not entirely clear by the categories that they have listed. Go through that and ask those questions now. Ask those, all your technical questions that you can, send them to that summer at that general email address, or go to their office hours, because those technical questions are important. Often people find it difficult to figure out where they should be reflecting things. That's the kind of question you should ask them, because only they know the answers to that. And then the budget narrative is your friend, because that is where you're going to be able to explain a lot of things. And one of the things I also say is, do not talk about something in your narrative that does not show up in your budget. So if you say you are going on field trips, you say you are going on field trips every Friday, and then I see no field trips in your budget, I'm going to be very confused. Now, maybe you got those field trips in kind. Somebody is donating the tickets or the transportation or whatever. That's going to be something you're going to have to explain in your budget narrative. Since there's no cost and you can't add that, there's no in-kind column. If you do have something that I would think has an expense associated with it that is not being reflected in the expenses that you're listing, please add that into your budget narrative and make sure that we understand how you're accomplishing it. I've seen some miraculously small budgets in my time, and I'm like, how is all this getting done? And it's because you all are miraculous. You're leveraging community resources. You're bringing in partnerships. You're funding things out of your own pocket sometimes. You're borrowing, you're begging, you're not stealing, but you're doing what you have to do to put your programs together. And so sometimes your budget doesn't look like it matches what you're proposing to do. In part because you've done a really good job of leveraging resources. So say that in your budget narrative. Tell us about how you've leveraged all the in-kind things that you're going to get, and explain how you can run your program on that smaller amount of money. And conversely, I've seen some pretty fat budgets, and sometimes it has to be that way. When you're dealing with older youth, you've got stipends, you've got other things that are maybe some equipment. I know we have some programs that do pretty technical things, like maybe you're doing something that requires 3D printers, or that is, and you want to purchase some of those things, and some of those things are one-time purchases. But you have to be able to number one, justify those expenses and say why they're super important in order to accomplish your program. And number two, if you have a very high cost per youth, I would really have you think about that carefully, given the competitive nature of this grant. If you're, several $1,000s per youth for the summer, it may be a challenge in terms of that competitiveness. So those are the main considerations, but just making sure everything adds up, that everything totals, and that everything lines clearly to your program narrative that you said. If you say you have 5 staff members, I want to see those 5 staff members have salaries or understand that there's volunteers within those 5 staff members. I see Mary's got her hand up.
So do you think it's a bonus if we've done a program for 2 or 3 years in a row and I don't need to buy 10 sewing machines because I have them from last year? That shows that I utilized the one time that I got before. The one thing that I need is a lot of the sewing notions, and those things get a little bit much because, kids will be kids. So they're not going to pay attention to how much thread they waste and stuff like that. But, and even when we make t-shirts, the press part, we have the machines, but that paper that you have to do to do the decals, that can be costly. So I wanted to say, is that something that shows quality in that we are taking care, or we have,
you can certainly note that you've made infrastructure investments so that you have these things, and that your purchases are for consumables at this point, right? That's what we call those, the things that get used up as opposed to the infrastructure. So I don't see any reason why you couldn't note that, and that would reflect, I think, positively on your program.
I had a quick question. Based on what you were saying, I know you said it's a little bit different. It doesn't really have like a budget type of template, but like when you say itemized, so are you going to itemize each individual thing? Like, so if you, one weekend you go to the Smithsonian and the next week they go swimming, are you going to itemize each one of those trips on the stuff that you would need? Or
to the extent that you can in your budget narrative, I would itemize those things.
okay.
At the very least, I would say, and again, it's a place to sneak in more information, right?
Right.
So, when you're doing the budget narrative and you're saying, let's see, what field trips might go under multiple things. It might go under transportation. It might go under participant expenses. So, I think, if you're having, like, let's say you're going to have four field trips, in that transportation category, you're going to say buses for 4 field trips. And maybe if you can fit in the character limit, you could be like, we're going to the Smithsonian and whatever, like just list the locations.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, it's a way for you to sneak in more information about what you're doing as well.
All right. Any other questions on the budget?
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Coming from me. With the budget narrative, is that the community reviewers going over it, or is it the funders? Because if we're trying to put more information into the budget narrative, but it's things that we would want the community reviewers to see, like specific field trips, or other like specific activities that we don't have the word count to talk more about in like earlier in the narrative. I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
I feel like there wasn't a rubric question about the budget, so I think the community reviewers only go over what those rubric questions were. That might be a technical question to ask the Summer Funding Collaborative. But just looking at all of the rubric questions, there wasn't one with for the budget, so I don't believe.
Okay.
But again, I would double check that with your with the SFC. They would be able to tell you exactly what the community reviewers will look at. Yeah, because it looks
Okay.
like the last rubric question for the community reviewers is the safe spaces. And then, so that would stop at question number 32. So I don't think they read past 32, but I would double check that.
Yeah, and I don't know if they get to see the budget or not then, as part of their review. So that's something that we will ask and get clarity on.
Okay, because I know in past applications, some of the feedback has been that there weren't enough specific details, but there isn't always like necessarily the word count space for all of the fun activities that kids will get to do. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
it'd be
we agree.
Yeah, and hopefully that's, maybe that calendar, you can put more of those, really eye-catching fun things, because then they're seeing it quick without a whole lot of words in it and everything, kind of squish your font down and
Okay,
open
that's
those
true.
blocks up as much as you can.
Yeah, like if you do Field Trip Fridays, you could even list all the field trips you have planned for Field Trip Fridays in that calendar, even though it's only one Friday that's being reflected.
okay.
Yeah, put Field Trip Fridays and just list them all, or if you've got all special events going on Fridays, you've got speakers coming in, you've got a chef coming in to help them make food or something like that. Really get those eye-catching things for those community reviewers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other budget questions?
And I've made a note about that question,
Okay.
Crystal.
Fantastic. All right. So the last strategy that we'll talk about tonight is just follow the directions to the letter. Answer each question, answer what's asked, have somebody, an outside set of eyes look at those questions, make sure you're answering it. Read this whole packet, like go through this packet, and read everything that you can that's in there. Excuse me, there's a lot of really great information. Go to the Summer Funding Collaborative's website and periodically pull up that FAQ document and the questions document, because if you all ask a question, they'll put it in that document for everyone to share. So, you might have a question that somebody else has already asked and the information is there. You might not know, and you just go there and the answer's right there for you and everything. So get as much information as you possibly can. Mary, did you have a question?
No, I apologize. I keep hitting that by mistake. I'm sorry.
No problem. Just wanted to make sure we caught questions.
Just mute me. I'm sorry.
All right. So, and just kind of to wrap it all up, we want to make sure that you are, be yourself when you're writing this. Don't try and guess what you think the reviewers want to hear. Really tell your story in your voice. You are the most powerful person to tell your story, because it's a part of you. It's, this is what you do. This is your heart. So really let that reflect. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need. If you need funding, you may not get it, but ask for it. And hopefully you are one of the programs that gets fully funded and everything. but ask for what you need, but also have a plan for how your program is going to continue if you don't get your full ask or if you don't get funded. And really just focus on the core, focus on what your program is all about, and why you do what you do every day. All right, so and again, we'll send these slides out and some additional information, but we have one-on-one technical assistance sessions where you email us either your whole proposal if you have it all written, or parts that you want your TA advisor to go over. We read through it. If you send it to us a couple days in advance, gives us opportunity to really read through, think about things, make sure that we're seeing what we're seeing, and then when we meet together, then we can give you specific feedback on specific things that are written and everything, and really sit there and do, unless you need a brainstorming session. If you want it to just be a brainstorming session where you're like, okay, I don't even know where to start, like how do I get this going, we can sit down and we can brainstorm and throw out questions, and you tell me about and really use it as a brainstorming session. So this is a 1-hour session that is for you and it's one-on-one, that we can really kind of dive deep into your proposal.
That said, I will say that it's always, I think the best scenario when we have at least something written in the answers to react to and give you feedback on, even if it's a draft or it's rough or it's bullets. Just the more that we know about what you're proposing will help us be able to really provide more technical assistance. And Dana and Honor, who are also on our TA provider list, are also amazing. Both have been program providers for years. Both have been on the other side of these grants as well. And so will be really valuable to you. And I see Ebony, you have your hand up.
Yes, my question is just, are we only allowed to do one session with one person, or?
For the first round, we're saying one session with one person because we only have a limited number of slots. If we get
Okay.
closer to the date and those slots haven't been filled, we will go back. And I actually told the team that I would play catch up with people who maybe needed more help after the 1-hour slot. So we're going to do everything we can to give everybody as much help as they possibly can get before November 15th, which is coming on us fast.
Right around the corner, yeah.
And yeah, no, that's why I asked, because I didn't know if, once I had my session and then I'm like, okay, let me go back and fix some things that they helped me with and, restructure some things and then go back to kind of get a final look at things. But, I understand the flexibility of just allowing everybody to get a chance and an opportunity for a one-on-one. So I did already schedule mine though, so I'm excited.
Great.
And it's with you, Honor. If you're on here, I scheduled mine with Honor.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, Honor's not here tonight. She was gonna join us for this, but she had a conflict. But she and Dana are amazing, and I highly encourage you to take advantage of them. I'm gonna drop the link directly into the chat as well.
Okay, yeah, I know it was also in the email you guys sent out, I think from last week or something.
Yeah, that Alexia.
But this
from
QR
Baltimore's
code
Promise.
here, yeah, the QR code that's on the screen takes us to that too. Because I just scanned that, I didn't even read. I scanned the QR code thinking that it was a feedback thing, and took me to that link.
Yeah, we try.
Yes, we do have a QR code for the feedback as well. So don't go too far.
Yep.
But, I'm gonna drop the one-to-one link in the chat in just a second.
Are there any other questions that we can answer for you this evening? We're kind of right at 8 o'clock. I think this was a great session. There were some really fantastic questions. I thank everyone, for questions and everything. Anything else that we can answer for you this evening? All right. Everybody feeling a little bit better after tonight's session, I hope. You know, that some of the things that we talked about kind of gave you some ideas, at least some jumping off points, kind of where to go next. All right, so Ebony, here's your survey. You can scan the QR code. Thank you, Ray. You can scan the QR code here, or we can drop the link in the survey, the link in the chat. I have it real quick. But please let us know how we did this evening and everything. We always love to get feedback to make sure that, did that come through as a link? It looks like it did.
It did not come through as a link.
That I was like, wait, that doesn't look like it came through as a link. Give me a second.
Now this does have like number 2 says workshop name, but I don't see FSC. Like, what would this be considered under here?
Oh, Janae did tell me that. Hold on. That's a good question.
Because now the one y'all emailed us, to do in the last one, it literally had like what session did you attend, and it had today's date
says-
and then a date from like last week.
Writing for the SFC should be the drop down.
Okay, I'm looking. Oh, okay, I see it. Oh, at the bottom. Okay, thank you.
I'll put that in the chat. Oop, that's mine. See, I told you I can't type. I used to be like a champion typer. Now it's just not good. That motor skill thing. Those fine motor skills. I never really had them. And now they're just going downhill. But thank heaven for Grammarly. That's my favorite. I use ChatGPT too. If anybody wants their tips and tricks on the AI, I can talk to you about how I do my prompts. I'm embracing the evil.
Well, I'll be reaching out to you about that.
Well, thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Our session tomorrow that's in person is going to be pretty much the same as this. And so if you double registered, I'm not sure, we're going to spend a little bit more time on the actual questions when we're in person. It's really hard to do that virtually, like have people actually write while they're on a Zoom. But other than that this will be pretty much the same information. So if you have other staff members who are working on this with you, who you want to send, please send them out. We don't want to be lonely in our in-person session. So, we welcome all.
All right, did everyone get the survey link and the QR code and everything? All right, I'm gonna stop share. If there are any last minute questions we can answer, that's great. Otherwise, thank you all for coming. Good luck. And if you need those one-on-one sessions, please go ahead and schedule them. Get your schedules in early and everything. And yeah, good luck.